Annie is just letting everybody in. Always nice. I like to start with a mics off and a hello to everybody. I'm Cass Duffill. This is our CEO, Annie Gibbons, if you don't know who she is. So I'm Cass. I'm a naturopath, but I'm also one of your directors and your treasurer at ATMS. So very excited to see everyone coming on. Lovely to have you here today. Nancy, nice to meet you. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Excellent. I love your water. Is it a water bottle in the background? The lovely rainbow color I can see on the
Oh,
video.
yes, it
I love
is.
that. It's right up my alley. Yeah. Lovely. And Annette, thank you for joining us.
Oh, right, yeah.
So we're expecting today, last time I checked, we had 78 people registered, which is amazing. But it'd be great to see who comes on live today. Excellent. And he's just letting everybody in for us. So before we dive in, out of interest, Nancy, Annette, why are we here today? Personal interest or personal experience?
Just personal interest. I get
Yes.
a fair bit of reflux, so
Yeah. Yeah, it can be tricky. Has it been going for a long time?
yeah.
Yeah. I found that with a lot of my clients, it seems to be something they come and get help for after they've been dealing with it for such a long time. And how about you, Annette?
You're on mute. You'll have to unmute yourself, Annette.
Unmute. There we go.
Hello.
Hi, how are you? Yes, no, it was just an interest, just another information to add to my skill as a kinesiologist.
Oh, I love kinesiology. How long have you been in practice in it?
Oh, since the 90s, late 90s.
Lovely. Oh, it's such a great modality. I used to use it a lot. I'm not a kinesiologist, but I used to refer a lot of my clients. I used to work a lot with autistic kids. So good for autistic kids.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, lovely. Excellent. So, Annie, do you want us to hold on for another couple of minutes, or do you want
No, I think we'll just get ourselves started. People will come and go. They'll also sort of join at any time in the hour. We had lots of movement yesterday, and they can also watch the catch up. So over to you, Cass. I'm really looking forward to hearing all about guts and health.
Oh, that's it. Excellent. So look, the way that I like to run is very sort of, casual about it. If you've got some questions as we're going, feel free to unmute yourself. And, if you wanted to put a hand up or something, happy for you to unmute and ask a question. So I'll come back to you or put stuff in the chat and we'll come back at the end. What I've tried to allocate today is probably around 40 minutes worth of slides and learning, and about 20 minutes at the end where we can come back and round table and discuss things and get your questions answered. So how does that suit everyone?
Good. Can we access the recording of this afterwards too?
Yes, you can.
Oh, excellent. Good.
Yeah, so you'll get a link by email.
For the next few days or?
Oh, indefinitely.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll just put it on YouTube straight after here and we'll send you the link and you can come at any time and you can also watch any of the others that you've missed.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So yeah, it's going to be a great little resource of videos and information on YouTube by the time we finish our natural medicine week. Excellent. So thanks for joining us all here today. I'm just going to put the screen share on. Coming over to PowerPoint. Excellent. All right, so I'm just going to pull that back there. All right, so as we're moving through, if you've got any questions, don't know why that's coming up twice. Let's try again. Sorry, guys, I don't know what happened there. Did you see that it came up twice, Annie? I got two lots of PowerPoint.
Oh, we only saw one.
Oh, really? On mine, it was like two layers on top of each other. I will try that again. So if you've got any questions as we're moving through, feel free to put them in the chat, because sometimes, this content can be, a bit tricky at times, or there can be a lot to it. So if you need anything explained, just ask me. It's not a problem at all. Okay. Excellent. Let's try this again. It's not liking me this morning, is it? There we go. All right, here it comes. All right. Is that on your end yet?
No.
No, it's saying failed to start. It's funny. We just changed back to Zoom from another platform because we're having trouble, and now it's going failed to start. Failed to start. All right. How about now? Is that up now?
It's coming.
Yay. Fantastic. We love that.
Perfect.
All right. We like being back in Zoom. It's our favorite platform. All right. So today, everyone, we're talking about from triggers to relief. This is around gut inflammation, reflux, but I've expanded a little bit more around different symptoms, different triggers, and different ways that you can combat those naturally. Looking through. Okay, so this is me. I'm Cass Duffill. I'm a naturopath by trade, and I'm also a gut specialist. I work in gut predominantly because it was my experience. In my 20s, I got really sick when I was working in corporate marketing. Debilitating gut issues, all sorts of symptoms, you know, the gamut. So it was something that I struggled with for many, many years. I wasted a lot of time, I wasted a lot of money. I saw all sorts of doctors and specialists, and when that didn't work, I moved into natural realms, and I saw the Chinese herbalists and the acupuncturists, and I saw a shaman at one point, and I saw everybody, and nothing was helping. I realized that if I was going to fix this problem, I had to do it for myself. And that's when I decided to study to be a naturopath. So since 2013, I've been qualified as a naturopath and have really focused in on this genre so I can help people who were stuck where I was to get better. What I've found over the years of doing this in practice is there seems to be a couple of key things that are often missed in practice by other specialists and things you might see. So what I want to talk to you today is those sort of secrets that I found along the way that tend to be missed by some of the other people working in the field. So let's talk about this. My friends, do we have a grumpy gut? Do we know someone with a grumpy gut? I like to call it a grumpy gut. Sort of puts it in a less stressful mode of voice, doesn't it? We talk about our grumpy gut. Today we're going to be covering the root cause of your gut dysfunction and inflammation and where that actually is coming from. We're going to talk about how to identify some common triggers and discuss some of those symptoms. We're going to also talk about how we can use some natural remedies to reduce those symptoms and how can we improve those. I want you to end today with some simple steps that you can take and use that are going to start to improve immediately. Because what's really important with gut health is, yes, there's an underlying problem and a root cause that takes time to heal. But in the interim, you've also got this gamut of symptoms you're dealing with, like we talked about before with reflux. So we want to be able to dampen those down and make those, less of an impact on our lives while we're healing the underlying problem. Now, our underlying problem is gut inflammation. That is what's going on the inside. But what is really happening here? A lot of people talk about gut inflammation, but don't explain it. It's about our gut lining itself it's become irritated, it's become damaged in some way. That damage, that irritation is triggering an immune response, and it's also disrupting your digestion. And that then triggers this cascade of symptoms, and they can be from very subtle to extremely severe, and a range of different symptoms. And we'll talk about some of those in a sec. But the bottom line of everything here is actually inflammation in the gut. It's all about, I call it protection in overdrive, because inflammation is the body's protective response. Our body, when it's trying to protect us, it can get inflamed or it can get a temperature. And that's about the extent of it. So we get gut inflammation as some sort of protective response. Something's gone wrong here, I'm going to swell up. What this does is swell within your digestive system. And what I call here is gut inertia. What started your problem and caused this damage and this inflammation in the beginning is often not what's causing it to continue. And that's a point that a lot of people miss. I'll talk to you about that in a couple of slides. But it's that inertia. You've started this process, the cascade's begun, and it's like a pattern that doesn't want to stop. This swelling causes what we call leaky gut junctions to develop. It's those leaky gut junctions that are the cause of your triggers. So what's happened here is we've got the breakdown of that barrier that should be a protective lining. Normally, it provides a selective and protective barrier. Selective meaning it lets nutrients come through and is a barrier for pathogens and things that couldn't go through or shouldn't go through. But that damage we talked about causes leaky gut junctions. What that means is your lining of your gut should be a really watertight force. I always sort of show that linked fingers. You should have a really watertight barrier. But the inflammation causes it to split. And we're getting these at a cellular level, leaky gut junctions, that breakage in that lining. It's known as increased intestinal permeability, okay, if you want to put the big words on it. But what that means is you've got these little areas of damage creating literal holes in your gut lining. It's making it very hard to regulate your absorption. What should come through, what shouldn't come through. Okay, so this is causing damage and this cycle to repeat. Getting rid of the swelling so you can close up those leaky gut junctions is actually the key to healing somebody's gut once and for all. But let's take a step back. How do we get here? How do we get to the point where we've got gut inflammation in the first place? So this is the thing that starts the process. It could be medications. NSAIDs is those Nurophens, aspirins, those anti-inflammatories, and antibiotics are a really big one here. And I actually think that's part of what started my problem back in the day. Infections are really common, like candida, parasites, bacteria, mold. I've worked with a lot of mold injured people over the years. It's a very key factor. And also different fungus. It's amazing what people can be reacting to and what their digestive system can be impacted by. Food intolerances, if you've got long-term food intolerances that you haven't been dealing with, that causes more and more damage over time. Exposure to chemicals and toxins. I'd also add there heavy metals. I've seen a number of clients over the years with particularly lead toxicity. So that can cause a problem. And also stress and nervous system dysregulation. We live in a world where we are in such a state of constant stress. It's busy stress most of the time, but it still keeps us in that heightened state, makes our digestive system not work properly. So, and it's interesting when you think about what starts someone's gut issues, and like I said, with mine, antibiotics were part of the problem, but it was actually bacteria. I was living in Sydney back in the 2000s. Around the time then they had what they called the water crisis. There was infiltration of Giardia. I can't remember where it came from, but it was in the water system. I contracted that and trying to get rid of that. My doctor gave me 6 consecutive courses of a very, very hardcore antibiotic. You can imagine what my gut was like after that. It wasn't good. So this damage is happening within your gut. What that actually does is signal the immune system. Okay, we're causing a response. This is how our symptoms are happening. We've got the inflammation, you've got the leaky gut junctions, and we've got elements getting into those leaky gut junctions where they shouldn't be. That's causing your body to react. This is causing your food sensitivities. They're not allergies, okay? Food sensitivities and allergies are 2 different things. So these are food sensitivities. And it's those particles crossing that barrier where they shouldn't go that heightens your immune system and causes it to respond. It gives you a variety there of symptoms from, your bloating, fatigue, cramps, pain, headaches. You can get itchy rashes. You can get brain fog. You can get uncomfortable joints, brain fog, that inability to think. Our reflux is a really common one. But the list, and I've got a big list for you of some of the ones, it's actually quite extensive. And it's so much more than just stuff in the gut. Now, as I said, they're not a true food allergy, okay, but they are extremely disruptive. And when I worked with clients in this space, I also have allergies. I'm anaphylactic. So I had a really comprehensive protocol where we were not addressing allergies because I don't believe you can actually reverse allergies. I know some people in our field say otherwise. Allergies are allergies. We have to be cautious of those. And then we deal with food sensitivities and rectify the gut to heal those up. So that's where we sit on those. How severe your symptoms are and how regular, how frequent those symptoms happen though, really depends on the level of inflammation that is in your gut. You can start to think of gut inflammation like a range, and the more inflamed it is, the more reactive it's going to be. I call this the intolerance bucket. I find this a really nice way to just explain what's happening. People would come to me and they'd say, Cass, I don't understand. This week I ate eggs and I was fine, but last week I ate eggs and I was so sick. Okay, it makes it really hard to determine what our trigger foods are when our body seems to be inconsistently reacting. So I came up with this theory that I call the bucket theory. So if you can think about your gut or someone's gut as a bucket, and every potential trigger, food, stress that's going on that could upset your gut is filling your bucket more and more and more and more. When your bucket is full, so you might have had food, you've had some medication, there's been a lot of stress, you happen to have eaten a number of things that just your body didn't love, that's when our bucket overflows. That's when we get our symptoms. So this is why if your inflammation is low, you might tolerate the eggs, you might tolerate the chocolate, you might tolerate the bread, but then all of a sudden you eat something that seems innocuous and it sends you over the edge and you end up with a range of symptoms. And I've got a number of different ones there. A lot of these, most people in our world are pretty common with a lot of these, I know. Here are a range of some of the symptoms that I used to see in my clients. It affects more than just your digestive system. Yes, there's digestive symptoms there. We have the pendulum of constipation and diarrhea and back again that people tend to be stuck in. We've got the flatulence, the gas, the reflux, the burping, we feel sick. It's not uncommon to feel sick with these gut issues. I've had a number of clients, and even back in the day, I remember, needing a bucket because you feel really, really ill. But it affects your body because you've got that inflammatory process that starts to work its way through your entire system. You can feel stiff, you can feel tight, you can feel uncomfortable in your joints. Hot sweat's a big one, that hot sweaty feeling and that clammy feeling. Neurological, you've got things like brain fog, dizziness, vertigo, migraines, headaches. It is not uncommon for somebody who's had long-term gut problems to start to develop more of those neurological symptoms. And if you read the research from recent years, what's coming through is what they're calling leaky brain. So that leaky gut junction we're developing in the gut lining is actually being replicated in the membrane around the brain, and we're getting impacts there. So that's another area. I'm not going to go into that today, but there's a lot of research coming through to prove that that's the case, and that we also need to be healing up that area of the body for people with long-term gut issues. Respiratory wise, the sinuses, the blocked nose. How often do you hear that from people who I ate chocolate or I had some milk? And milk's a big one for putting mucus in the sinuses. Skin, rashes, eczema, dry skin, itchy. There's so many different symptoms. Everybody has a very unique set of triggers and a very unique set of symptoms. So what's really important in all of this, now we understand all of that, is how do we move forward? How do we move forward into what I call the relief? That feels a little bit better. And that reset, which is the restoration. Because for me, I never wanted it to be a case where I'd go, great, in 3 months you'll feel better. You're still going to continue feeling terrible for the next 3 months, but in 3 months from now, you'll be great. My focus has always been reduce our symptoms, the acute symptoms in the short term, while we focus on the underlying cause and fix that long term. So let's talk about what I call the first line of relief, and it's 5 simple strategies. Now, some of these I've had clients go, oh, that doesn't seem like it's going to work. Every time they've tried it, they got some success. So the 5 ones that I really focus on here is digestion. Like I said, we live a busy life, don't we? We're hectic. We can be eating on the go. We're eating in front of the TV. We're running around. I've done it myself, running around eating breakfast while I'm making kids' lunches. That doesn't work for our gut. We want to support digestive processes, which is number 2. Number 3, we want to try and find and remove those triggering foods. We want to give the gut a break. We want to add anti-inflammatory support at point 4, and then we want to really work on balancing off that nervous system. So a few points on each of those for you, because being calm, being mindful is going to improve your digestion. And it's interesting, some of the new research coming through is showing that in some instances, it's not actually about the nutrients that you're intaking, it's more about what you're actually absorbing. So we know stress impacts our digestive function. So staying calm is really important. Our parasympathetic state, which is what we call rest and digest, that's where our body releases enzymes. That's where our body has that motility of our bowel to move things through. And to help that, we can actually do something really simple, such as eating slowly and chewing adequately. Do you know people that shovel? They shovel food in. Yep. We don't want to be doing that. We want to be eating slowly, mindfully, taking our time. Yep, taking our time and enjoying the experience. A few simple ways we can support our digestive process. Drink water away from your meals. Start thinking of that as water's going in too close to meals. You're actually diluting your stomach acid, which is making it harder for your gut to digest. So water at least half an hour away from meals, even longer if you can. You can also add things like bitters, which are herbs, lemon water, apple cider vinegar, a little bit of that, even just a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar before your meal can help. For those of you dealing with reflux, that's not going to be your answer, so please don't try that. Some of your supplements you can put in for digestive support, things like enzymes, probiotics, and prebiotics. Now, when it comes to removing or avoiding triggers, this one gets a little bit tricky because sometimes we don't know what caused the issue. Like I described before with the intolerance bucket. Just because that last thing tipped us over, there might have been a few things before that that actually triggered us as well, but we blame the last thing that we ate. So unpacking this and trying to find our trigger foods is really important, and I'll tell you how to do that in a second. I also recommend avoiding common triggers. We know that for a lot of people, bread, gluten, those carbohydrates can be triggers. We know that harsh foods, spicy foods can be a trigger for a lot of people. A lot of people I dealt with over the years for gut stuff actually can't tolerate lettuce. And I know that seems really innocuous, but when it's a vegetable that isn't getting cooked, we're eating it raw, because it's so easy to eat, we're probably not chewing it very well. A lot of my clients reacted to lettuce. And there's also different tests available that are testing. These aren't allergy tests, we're testing for that intolerance. So what we're looking for is the inflammation response happening. So testing for food compatibilities as well. Anti-inflammatory support that you can add to your everyday. Great herbs, and some of these you've got in your pantry at home. Turmeric, ginger, licorice, chamomile, herbs that you can buy in a lot of the health food shops. I would avoid the licorice though if you're on blood pressure medication. Okay, it's not suitable for you. Aloe vera juice and green tea are great, and these are also good for reflux. Aloe vera juice can really soothe that burn. You can get some great options in the health food shops. With your aloe vera juice, make sure you are buying one that's properly processed, because you actually can't process the entire leaf. Okay, it's toxic. The entire leaf, you've got to use that gel inside. And making sure that our diet is full of anti-inflammatory foods, like our fish. Salmon's great. Those fish are great for that. Our green vegetables, our berries, and really making sure we're eating a nice selection of those whole foods. And how are we going to balance our nervous system? We are going to take some time for us. Walking, hobbies, whatever gentle exercise you enjoy. How often do we put that on the back burner? Because we're busy with everything else. Oh no, I don't have time. I used to love to paint, but I don't pull out my canvas anymore. I used to love to read, but I haven't read a book in a year. So it's time to pull those back and make some time for us. Working on our vagus nerve can be really important. Vagus nerve is actually what's connecting our brain to our gut. One of the easiest ways to give that tone again is actually humming that, because that's vibrating the vagus nerve as it goes through the back of our neck. Breath work is also really good. I know a lot of people are really into breath work. And magnesium. So whether you do magnesium as a supplement, those of you lucky enough to have a bathtub at home, not me, but a lot of you do, get yourself some Epsom salts, some magnesium salts, and enjoy some magnesium baths. Magnesium is one of the key supplements, or one of the key nutritional, that our nervous system needs, and one that we can actually struggle to get enough of. What I want to talk to you about now is that gut. Remember we talked about the gut lining, and it's inflamed and it's damaged and it's just not as good as it should be. I call that the grazed knee. Okay, so the grazed knee, that is your gut. When you can put this analogy in your head, healing your gut becomes a lot more obvious, honestly. So if we can think of your gut lining like a grazed knee. So think of that grazed knee for a minute. If you've got a grazed knee, you've fallen over, you've grazed your knee. It hurts, yes. And think of this in your gut lining. It is grazed. You've got leaky gut junctions. You've got damage. You've got redness. You've got soreness. So if you think of your gut like this, it's going to be painful. Yes. It's going to be worse for contact. If you've got a grazed knee, you touch it, it hurts, doesn't it? It's further inflamed by contact. If you fall on that grazed knee again, it's going to hurt again, isn't it? Your gut is the same. You put food in there, you put medications in there, you've got toxins coming from cleaning products and hair care and everything else that's surrounding us. Again, on that damaged lining. Your gut needs time and it needs the right support to be able to heal properly. I always say this, you would not pour vinegar on a grazed knee, would you? Even plain water can hurt, okay? When you're trying to, anyone got kids and they've grazed their knee and you're trying to pour water on it to clean it up and they're screaming, and we've got to be careful what we put on our gut. Think about the foods that you choose to eat when you have this sort of gut dysfunction. Anything that could be harsh, anything that could irritate, because it's damaged and it's inflamed. So you need to really start considering what those kind foods might be. I call this being kind to the gut, and it's about nourishing your gut instead of punishing it. Gut supportive nutrition while you're healing the gut are things that are easy to digest. So think about warm foods, slow cooked foods, your soups and salads, your salads and those raw carrot sticks and things like that might be really healthy, but they're harder for your gut to break down. If you've got things like stews and soups and broths, they've already been cooked, they're starting to break down. You've lost none of the nutrients because it's still there in the source. So really great to eat those sort of foods. Now, if you can tolerate it, fermented foods can be great. I know in my personal situation, I could never tolerate those while I was healing, and a lot of people with reflux, you can't tolerate those either. So that is something you'd probably look at adding down the road, more as a maintenance factor. And the other thing to remember is water. We can actually forget to drink enough water when we're dealing with our gut problem, because we're already having enough issues, and if we add too much water, we can be making things worse. So we want to be careful with that. Make sure you are getting enough and just space it away from your meals. So let's talk now just a few simple remedies that you can try right now this week that are going to help you get a happier gut. Simply start adding something like bone broth to your meal routine or in cooking. You've got some lovely nutritionals in there. You've got collagen, you've got gelatin that can help to soothe and start healing that gut lining. Those bitters that we talked about earlier, apart from apple cider, if you've got reflux, don't do that one. Your digestive enzymes, you can get those in every supermarket now and every over-the-counter chemist. Taking those with every meal just to add that little bit of support, lighten the load on your gut. Putting heat packs on your gut, abdominal pain, okay? Do what you can to relieve that pain. And one of the best things, and I used to make this up in jars in my clinic that people could take, an aloe vera rub that you rub clockwise and you go around your belly button. But what it is, it's just aloe vera gel, and you can buy that in the health food shops in a pump bottle with lavender essential oil and peppermint essential oil. What you've got there is the two essential oils that are great for nausea and they're great for cramps. So we're rubbing that on and it's easing the cramps, and it really does help with your nausea as well. You also need to avoid laying down too soon after eating. As soon as we lay down, the digestive process stops. And that's why a lot of people with this problem tell me that they get sick at night. They're eating too late at night and going to bed, and then they're having a flare and having to get up in the middle of the night. Some of the herbal teas are great for this as well. Peppermint, ginger, chamomile. Fennel's great if you like that sort of aniseed flavor as well. And for anyone who's into homeopathics, Nux vomica, oh my gosh, I have never in 20 years left home without this in my handbag. It's a homeopathic that's great for abdominal pain, cramps, nausea, and also found it personally really great for hot sweats. You can get this in your average chemist. In Australia, there's a brand, Owen Homeopathics, that's available in chemists and health food shops, or you can get a higher potency from homeopath. Okay, I'm not a homeopath, but there are a lot around who can help you with that. So let's talk about reflux specifically, because I know a lot of people are struggling with this. I reckon you always need to keep that aloe vera juice on hand, okay, because it really does soothe. It's only a small dose. It says on the bottle it's normally only 5 to 10 mils, and it doesn't really taste like anything, but it just soothes the entire esophagus right down into your digestive tract. Now, there is a type of licorice root that you can get, which is, they call it DGL. It's taking out that active constituent that those with heart medication can't have. So that can be really good if you can get that particular one. It actually says it on the bottle in the health food shop, DGL. That can be great to chew up or take a capsule of that. Marshmallow root is also a really great, whether you take it as a herbal medicine or as a tea. Now, also watch the foods that you're eating. We know spicy foods, fatty foods, chocolate, alcohol, caffeine, tomatoes, bread, carbonated drinks, those fizzy drinks, alcohol, these are all going to cause problems on the gut. So while you're healing the gut, these just get put to the side. Few little lifestyle changes too that you can do. Elevate the head of your bed or pop your head up on a couple of pillows. We can eat smaller meals more frequently. That means that we have less digestive enzyme going in there. When we're dealing with reflux, a lot of people think it's because we have too much stomach acid. In the case of people with gut dysfunction, it's actually often the opposite. It can often be that there's not enough acid and the body's pumping and pumping, trying to get enough in there. It can also be a functional thing. So if you do have reflux long-term, good idea to get it checked out with your GP just to see, because you can have a functional issue where your diaphragm's pushing your stomach up. And I have had a few clients over the years that had to have surgery to make sure that stayed where it should. Bananas are a great thing to have on hand because they are a natural antacid. So that's going to neutralize that stomach acid for you. Slippery elm is fabulous. So you can get it as a powder and a tea and a capsule, lots of different ways. But what slippery elm does is actually put a bit of a protective coating around your gut and around the mucosal lining in your esophagus as well. And I also think anyone with a gut problem or reflux, start taking probiotics regularly. There are a lot you can get from practitioners and also over the counter. So get yourself a good quality probiotic, a multi-strain one, and start taking that regularly. I want to delve into, just for a minute, a little bit more on our signs and our symptoms. Because for me, I think they're the signposts. They're telling us what's going on. They're telling us that something's wrong. I have seen clients over the years who found their symptoms to be really stressful. There was a lot of anxiety and a lot of fear around them. So let's try and take that fear away. Because what's happening when we get our symptoms is our body is just communicating with us in the only way it can. It's telling you that there's an imbalance, there's an injury, there's a dysfunction, could be even an infestation, bacteria, parasites, candida. So we need to listen to these symptoms, because they are going to guide us in how we can heal. A great way to start this is to track your symptoms and your food. And I call this a food and mood journal, even though it's probably food and symptom journal. But it's about finding patterns and it's about uncovering these triggers. And like I said, you can also get compatibility testing. There's a couple of companies that do that. And at the end, my website's listed here. So if you jump on there, I can bounce you off where you can get that done. We also need to remove these trigger foods. There is no point continuing to pour vinegar on the grazed knee and expecting it to heal. It's just not going to, is it? So we need to take those trigger foods out, take the harsh and spicy foods out for a period of time, and then we monitor symptoms and changes. While those foods are out, you work on healing the gut. In my clinic, this was a period anywhere between 3 months, 6 months, everybody was a little bit different. So we'd take those trigger foods out for 3 to 6 months and we'd work on healing the gut while we did that. And then reintroduce those trigger foods one at a time. The longer you can leave out the trigger foods from your diet, the better healing you will get. I have seen so many clients over the years who introduced foods too soon or didn't finish their healing protocol for the 3 months or the 6 months. And they thought, no, I'm fine. I'm so much better. I'm back to normal and off I go. And then 2 years later, I saw them back in clinic. Okay, because we never managed to finish. There's got to be that real mop-up healing phase, and it's about 4 weeks at the end where you feel better, you feel back to yourself, but you've got to finish that mop-up and that gut healing to make sure those leaky gut junctions are fixed, that the inflammation is gone. That is what keeps you long-term healthy. If you don't do that, this can reactivate again. So what do our symptoms mean? If we're looking at these as signposts, what are they meaning? So if we've got reflux, for example, this could be inflammation in that upper gastrointestinal tract, because we've got an upper and we've got a lower. It can be slow digestion, it can be low stomach acid, it can be high stomach acid. So that's why it can be really helpful having somebody who is knowledgeable in this field to help you really unpack that and work out why it's happening for you. If we've got bloating, first thing I always go to here is imbalance. things aren't right and it swells up. So we're looking here for things like food reactions and those food triggers. I also see not a lot in nervous system imbalance. So those people that seem to be chronically stressed seem to have more trouble with the bloating. If we've got brain fog, what's going on there? Well, like I said before, I really think we've got that leaky gut, leaky brain connection happening. Okay, but what we've got is really a systemic immune response, and it gets hard to think properly. Brain fog means, we might forget things, or we're just not thinking as clearly. So we need to really support that gut brain axis and clear that up. I'm just going to let that in, thank you. And skin issues. What's happening if we've got skin issues? Skin issues tell us off the bat that there is gut permeability. If you've got skin issues, I can guarantee you you've got leaky gut junctions, and we need to detox your system and cleanse. You've probably got a liver overload as well. So we need to detox and cleanse your system and really downregulate that immune response. The really interesting thing is, so many skin issues are actually gut issues, but the body has to get those elements out of itself somehow. The skin is the biggest detox organ that you have. So if there's something on the skin, we always look inside, what's happening inside. So my friends, it's all about taking little small steps, but those small steps, they make really big changes. So here's my top 4. We want to be removing our triggers. You want to be supporting digestion. We want to repair the gut. And then we want to make lifestyle changes so it doesn't happen again. Okay, so that might be we want to reduce stress. It might be that we want to continue to take our probiotic every day. There's a lot of different changes that we can make, and small changes that make a big difference, okay? Particularly people that are struggling with bowel motility, which is the movement of the bowel. Well, we want to make sure that we're doing some gentle exercise every day, because exercise begets that movement of the bowel. Now, let me be honest here, healing takes time. It does, but it can and is possible for everybody. The only people I've seen not heal their gut is those that didn't give it enough time. And interestingly, like I've said there at the bottom, last point, it doesn't matter how long you've had the problem or how severe it is. It's really interesting how that's had no impact on the time it seems to take to heal somebody's problem. I had a lady who had had severe and chronic IBS for 21 years. Didn't know why. We started working on it. 6 weeks in, she came in for an appointment 6 weeks into our treatment, and she said, Cass, I feel normal. She said, I went out for dinner. I went to a Chinese restaurant. I'm going to the bathroom once a day like a normal person. Yep. And yet I had somebody else who'd only had the issue for 2 years, and it took us 6 months to heal that up for her. So everyone can be a little bit different. What I would say is by about 6 weeks, most of my clients say to me, my gosh, I feel so much better. I'm not living life dictated by my symptoms, everything's settling down. By 12 weeks, which is that 3 months mark, most people are feeling much more like themselves, and by this time they're going out for dinner and they're getting their life back. How many things do we miss as gut people? We get invited to dinner, but we're, oh no, we don't know if we can eat in that place. Or yes, we'd come, but we don't know where the closest bathroom is, so we can't go there. Yeah, that was our life. I remember all too well. So we want to make sure we can get people their life back. We want people to live their best life possible. But it comes from a combination. We need to do that foundational work. We need to do elimination. We need to do repair. And then, to be really frank, I do think we need to maintain. I always say we can heal up the gut, but we're probably not cast iron gut people, like people who've never had this problem. Okay, I think we can fall back into that a little bit more easily than other people. Now, what I mean by that is these people that might be healed, if you go overseas and you get a really bad case of gastro or food poisoning, I've seen that it might trigger your system again, and then we might have to do a little bit of work to get that back. It doesn't take very long, 4 6 weeks. It's about all it's taken. But I have seen we fall back into that a little bit more easily than other people that have never had this problem. But yeah, it is possible, absolutely possible to heal. So what can you do? On the back of what we've talked about today, where do you start and what do you do? Keep it simple. Pick 1 thing, 2 things, and go and start doing those. What I don't want you to do is do everything, because then you don't know what worked. So just pick a couple of things to try and see how they go. Give them long enough to see if they're effective. Okay, so you wouldn't go and get a licorice capsule for reflux, take it once and go, oh no, that didn't work. Give it a week and see how it goes. If you're going to take out a trigger food, honestly, give it a week, give it 3 weeks, give it as long as you can to see how it affects you. Okay, but give them long enough so you can tell what's working and what's not. Start one of those food and symptoms, food and mood diaries so you can find patterns and uncover your triggers, or get your hands on some of that compatibility testing. Like I said, there's 2 companies that I know of, and through my website, I can put you in touch with those. They both cost around $300, and they both do about 500 different foods. So it's a really comprehensive test. And look, I think overall, to be really frank, if you are dealing with this, you really need to get support from a practitioner, someone who knows how to do this. I was made so sick so many times by seeing practitioners who didn't understand. There are stock standard protocols out there for how to deal with gut stuff. They don't work unless you know how to manage the gut. I got made worse so many times by those stock standard protocols. So I would recommend finding someone who really gets it. And there's a lot of us out there. Gut's actually a really common niche for practitioners. But if you want to find out more about how I can give you a hand, this is sort of what I have on the table for you. So I've got 2 websites. My healthhaven.com.au is my clinic, predominantly my one-to-one naturopathic clinic. And I also have gutrecovery.com. On gutrecovery.com and Health Haven, there's 2 free guides. So please jump over there and get those. One is called Secret Insider's Tips to Heal Your Gut. What that has is a list of the supplements, the herbs, and the lifestyle interventions that I commonly use with gut patients to start to heal their gut. Really useful guide if you're trying to work out some treatment for yourself. I've also got a free guide there called A Calmer Gut in 5 days. So it gives you a 5-day plan of things to do that are going to start to reduce the bloating, the cramps, etc. Are you going to heal your gut in 5 days? No, you won't. But what I want to show you is how quickly you can start to get some success. On Gut Recovery, you'll also find that there's a couple of different programs. I've got a couple of different self-paced ones. There's a Gut Kickstart and Gut Reset. And I've also got my premium 3 months. So that is what I call a signature program where you work with me one-to-one, as well as all of these amazing resources, meal plans, etc. So that's all on there. And they're actually having a big revamp at the moment. So the start of June, they'll all be open again and in a brand new format. So you're going to love that. Now, I'm just going to close this off so I can come back and see you all and see what questions we have. I can see something's been happening in the chat. Fabulous. Hello, it was nice to see everyone else coming in while I was chatting away. Nice to see you all. So got a few extras with us here. So tell me, please feel free to unmute and ask your questions. Any questions from that? What do you think? Anything you can take away? Any ideas? How are we feeling? Annette, my lovely kinesiologist up there, learnt a few things you can bring to your practice. Oh, you're on mute, my dear. I always do that too, don't worry. Is it letting you? No, it's not letting you unmute, is it? Let's try again.
Yeah, thank you.
There you go.
I've got a picture of myself.
Oh, that's fine. We can see you.
How do I get that back? Oh, there we go.
We can see you, yes.
Okay. That was very comprehensive. I've never heard the leaky gut explained so well.
Oh, I'm glad.
So that
Makes
was
sense.
really, really great. It made a lot of sense.
Great.
But it was the whole presentation was just so well structured and so much information in it. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. I was always worried there's so much to share with gut. And I was like, okay, no, put that in. There's always a lot. Oh, I'm glad. Yes. So you've got some points you can use with your clients then?
Absolutely. I've made lots and lots of notes. Thank you so much.
Right. You're welcome. And Nancy, how about you? How did you go?
Good. Is there an easy way to tell if your gut's it's got too much acid or not enough?
Look, in practice, it was actually more from a symptom diary point of view, because when you've got, so do a bit of a symptom diary for yourself, and when these things are coming on, too much stomach acid tends to mean that you're getting reflux in between meals. If you've got too low a stomach acid, you tend to get reflux around the time you're eating, is what I found by and large. Yeah, but there were a few herbs and things that we could try in clinic, because certain herbs tend to stimulate that stomach acid to come up. So it's not a pleasant way to find out, but a couple of minutes trying that, we could get to the bottom of it that way. But yeah, so for yours, is it around meals or is it any time? Is it when you lay down? What's going on
It's
there?
when I lay down, yeah, a bit later, I
Oh,
think.
okay. Yeah, so that could be low stomach acid, but it also could be that functional issue, because if the valve's not closing properly, then when
Mm.
you lay down, you've got that, excuse the wording, backwash. Don't know how else to explain that. It flows backwards. So well worth checking. The couple of clients I sent to the GP for that, they had to do what they called a fundus repair. It was tightening the valve. And one lady actually had a split in her diaphragm because she had twins, and her stomach was actually protruding up through the diaphragm. Too much information, I know.
Yeah.
So do just double check with your doctor just to make sure, and then yeah, if there's nothing there, then use those other strategies that I talked about with the aloe vera juice and things like that.
Okay.
Yes, great. And any other questions from anybody else? Please feel free to unmute or put something in the chat. I'm glad you got so much out of today. Gut's a huge issue, isn't it? It's such a huge realm. And there's so many, I always say it's like looking for a needle in a haystack, but you just don't know which needle you're looking for in which haystack. So it can be very broad. Yeah. A gut triggers genetic. No, I can't say they are. The triggers themselves, I haven't seen be genetic. Now, food allergies, yes, I have seen them run in families, so that's slightly different. What I have seen, though, I really think the disposition to have a disgruntled gut seems to be genetic. Just like some families run with nervous system issues, they all seem to have anxiety or they all seem to have stress. So that does seem to be a bit of a precursor, but yeah, not genetic as such. And what's Tamara, easy way to distinguish between low and high stomach acid. Look, like I said, it's a little bit of a tricky one, but just try and take notice of when it's happening for you. Okay, so if it's happening between meals when you're not even eating, it's a good sign that you've got too much and it's making its way out. Yep. Fabulous. All right, anything else from anybody? I'm so glad you all made it today. It was great to see you all. Feel free to throw anything else at me. And like I said, do jump over to the website, grab those guides. You're very welcome to. And if it is something you want to help with, there is also a free 15-minute chat that you can book with me as well. Now, in the chat there, how does a naturopath treat differently than a GP? Look, we're very holistic. So when you would see a GP for this, and I remember because I did it myself, you get a prescription. You get a prescription for something like Nexium, and you take that, and that cures your problem, and that's the end of it. No one's actually looking at why this is happening. And the problem with doing it that way, because it took me about 4 years to start to get some success. When you're using medications like that, over time they work less, so you're having to increase your dose. So it's a bit of a nasty cascade you end up on. From a naturopathic point of view, we're looking at healing the gut so the problem goes away. So we're actually asking, why did this happen? It didn't used to happen. Okay, you used to have a gut that was fine. Okay, most people. So why did this happen? And it comes back to healing that gut. So the way I work is sort of 4 stages. We work in a foundational phase first, and this is why frankly mine works better than a lot of others, because a lot of practitioners you might go to in different fields will go straight to elimination and go, oh, there must be things in here, so let's do a parasite cleanse, let's remove microbes, etc. That actually does more damage. Remember the leaky gut lining and how damaged that is? If you start pulling all of these elements off it, you're damaging it even more. So I like to do some foundational work first. Let's try and soothe that gut and heal it up a little bit. Then we'll do some elimination. And then we work through this period of elimination, bit more foundational work, bit more elimination, bit more foundational work until those symptoms are gone. Then we do the repair, and then we do a bit of a mop up. And is it best to turn up to your naturopath appointment with a food diary? And if so, how long? It is a really great idea. So I think at least a week would be great. And if you can come in with a list of what you've eaten and the symptoms you experienced and when they happened, that can be really great. A lot of gut-focused naturopaths like myself we'll do what we call a 24-hour recall at least in the consultation, which goes through what have you eaten in the last 24 hours. But having that more comprehensive week-long diary is a great idea. A lot of practitioners will give you that as a task in your first consultation. So if you've got that done, you're a step ahead. Yes. Oh, I just wanted to say too, because I did mention in the presentation about a probiotic. And I think, look, just from a point of health, I think everyone can benefit from probiotics. But for gut people, if you are looking to get probiotics over the counter, there are a lot of different strains. When we're dealing with gut problems, if we haven't tested, we don't know what strains of good bacteria you're missing. Okay, so get a broad spectrum one, as broad as you can get. But I always like to get one that's got a strain in there called rhamnosus. Rhamnosus is the strain of probiotic that actually down-regulates that reactivity that's happening in your gut. Interesting side note, a couple of years ago, I'm on the Gold Coast here, they called them the peanut trials, and they were doing trials in the local hospital here with the kids that had peanut allergies. And it was interesting because it was all over the news, and they've developed this fantastic pill they're giving kids, and then they're giving them peanuts and they're not reacting. The pill they gave them was actually a probiotic capsule full of rhamnosus. That's all it was. So that's how well that probiotic can work to downregulate your sensitivity. So really worthwhile adding probiotics into your run of your regime. Great. Anything else from anybody else? We've got about 10 minutes before we finish, but if there's no other questions, we can always wrap it up. And I know there's a lot of you I can't see, so please feel free to unmute if I can't see you and just speak up. Hello, is it Siegfried? I can't read that very well, sorry.
Siegfried, yes. Sorry, Cassandra. I joined a bit later. I had difficulties joining through the it sent the link before with Adobe Connect. So finally I got a new link.
Sorry.
Thanks. Now, just a question. Do you suggest from time to time to do like a detox? Like I used to do in the past a detox. It was called quick cleans from Caruso's.
Oh,
detox
yes,
is basically like the stomach, the liver.
I know that one. I've done that one myself. I know that one very well. Yes.
Okay. The reason I ask as well, because I haven't done it for a while, but with certain foods, what I realized like lately, since a couple of months, I feel quite sometimes getting like bloated, or like yesterday, for example, I had rice, and with some fish or like meat. And sometimes like, I think especially like maybe like to carbs or anything like I tend to, and then I feel as well like lately as well, like more kind of like, I'm not sure if there's inflammation, like more likely like the joint pain, muscular pain.
Yes. You've definitely got that cascade of symptoms happening.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Look, you've got some symptoms happening. Absolutely. Absolutely. So getting on those as soon as you can is really important. Because those symptoms are happening, I would hedge my bets that there is some inflammation in your gut and some lining damage happening. Okay, those junctions starting to happen. The detox specifically, I honestly think everybody should be having a detox once a year. We take our car to the mechanic and get spark plugs changed and oil, but we never do that with ourselves. We only ever go and get like a full body scan if they think we have cancer. I don't understand why we don't get to do that on the regular. So, I'm a big believer in doing a regular detox. I do like that brand that you mentioned. Like I said, I've used it myself many times. After I became a naturopath, I did a lot of herbal medicines in my clinic, so I used to make my own. But it is a really good one. But there's a lot out there that you can do detox wise. But I do think with what's happening with your gut, really good idea to start to work out some of those triggers and just leave them out of your meal regime for a while and look at ways you can heal the gut, getting those probiotics in there. When it comes to healing up those tight junctions, and I always do this because, we've got tight junctions and we've got leaky junctions, and that's what it is. But when it comes to healing those up, the two things that work really well for that is a supplement called glutamine. Okay, glutamine you can get in powders, you can get it in capsules. And the other thing that works, an absolute treat, is actually colostrum. So we can get bovine colostrum here in this country, which is from cows. So obviously not good for our vegan people, but if it's something that you are happy to take, it actually works really well. So those two things can really start to put those junctions back together. And to be really frank, out of everything I tried over the years, those were my two go-tos that worked really, really well for everybody.
Okay. I take a product, not to make it too long, but I take a product as well. It's called Gut Relief from Vitalife, and it
I know
has
that
as well like glutamine, which I think is like for the lining, isn't it?
That's
Like of
the
the
one,
bones.
yes. Yeah. Do
And
be careful with that one because they do have calcium in that one that's derived from crustacean. As an anaphylactic, I can't take that one. So do be careful. I've had clients who are reacting to that particular product, but there's a lot of other ones out there. Bioceuticals does their histamine. I don't know if I'm allowed to mention products, so I might move away from that. But
Yep.
there are a lot out there. Just have a look at the ingredients. They normally have a blend of things. Glutamine is key. You want to have those in your gut healing powders.
Mhm.
Some of the herbs can be great. You might see globe artichoke in there. It's known as Cynara scolymus. That's a really good one. There's generally turmeric in them because it's so anti-inflammatory. So something that's got a bit of a broad spectrum of things in it. But yeah, just check what's in the one you've got because it did used to have crustacean-derived calcium.
Thanks very much.
Welcome. No worries at all. Excellent. Any other questions for anybody else before we round it out? It's been so great chatting to you all. And in some ways, it's been nice that we had a bit of a link issue and we got a small group because it's been really nice to be able to round table and just see everyone and, have this really great conversation. So thank you everyone for being part of today. You will get a link via email and all of the Natural Medicine Week videos are going to be on YouTube, which will be great. But it's been great to be here. Thanks, Nancy. It's been great to have you as well. Nice to meet you all. And I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye, everyone.
Cassandra, just very short.
Yes, no worries.
Cassandra, obviously, you do as well probably online consultations, isn't it?
Correct. Yes, I work online. Yes.
So
Yeah, I
check
gave up my clinic during COVID, so I work online.
Okay. So I look for more information on the
Please do.
website.
Yeah, have a look at those links. For the next couple of weeks, there aren't, just to be really honest, there's no bookings in there because I'm having surgery next week, but I'm back later in the month and then there's plenty of bookings.
All the best for your surgery.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Great. Oh, hello, Vanessa. Nice to see you too. Fabulous.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.